Cheers.
Your balls have been on this show more than any other entity.
Well, they're honored to have been
acceptance.
So
speech.
yeah, I'm glad they have a place to be welcome.
And these golden balls are here.
And bring in the balls.
It's a hard thing to shake, I guess. I mean, the balls themselves, I guess, like, I don't know what they're talking about because I wasn't around when people are discussing them.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I understand where it stems from, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, once you get out there nude, it's like...
It's all on the table.
Yeah, not hiding much.
I guess for all the kids, maybe if there's kids out there who didn't know who Bill was but watched the show, like, this is the guy attached to those balls that...
He's a legend. So many times. He's the man behind the legend.
I'm just the guy who carries them around. They're the real. They're the real. Yeah.
Flash right now to Dogtown ad. Naked 540.
What's the origin of the nudity and the naked 540s?
It's cloudy, but I think the beginning point was I rode for Dogtown, and they said you can have an ad. I'd never had an ad, and I was like, fuck, I'd like to do something. And I remember at the time people were making a big deal of 540s for whatever reason, and I didn't ever think they were that big of a deal, so I was like, it'd be funny to do it naked.
Yeah.
And I just actually learned stalefish ones, so I shot that, and then, like, you know, it came out and people were like, whoa, and then basically what would happen is people were like, did you make that? Like, whatever, and then we'd be drinking, and next thing you know, like, oh, you gotta do one.
It was padless too, right?
Yeah, and then...
There's no way not to make it.
Yeah, well, yeah, there is, but... So basically...
You found out.
Yeah, basically, you know, it would just carry from there, like, enough drinks. It always seems like a good idea to do it at the time, but, you know, when it turns foul, it's not very fun.
No.
When has it gone foul?
A couple times in Vancouver, it took a couple tries, which was really...
Ouch.
Embarrassing because that venue was pretty big, and I remember
Slam City.
I remember one time like just looking up in the crowd and just seeing like sad people's faces and being like, oh God. And then the worst of those, actually in Vancouver, after I fell a few times, I had such a long masonite burn on my ass. And I drove up there that year. I had to drive home like literally tilted to one side the whole way. And then once Duffy he used to have these warehouse parties in San Francisco where that vert ramp, the Thrasher vert ramp was. He ended up living there. You know, so he organized these big parties, like 2,000 people, and everyone's skating the ramp, like all the SF heads. And I remember he's like, oh, you got to do one. I'm like, ah. And he's like, dude, fucking whatever. So enough drinks is the easy reason to say, yeah, this is a good idea. So I remember skating, and I went up and I did it, but I hip checked the deck, and I flipped to the flat, and I thought I broke my femur. Okay. And then like the band just stopped, right? And I was like, and I was like, dude, I just broke my femur. Like, dude, no one's gonna help me. I'm fucked. And then I remember the drummer, whoever, I didn't know these people, but he started like going, and like slowly or surely I got up, and I remember like making my way up to the ramp, and he's like, and the crowd started getting up. So I was like, I can't. And they're like, go for it. I remember just dropping in and do it, and the band lit back in, and people just flipped out. And
wow.
That was probably the most dramatic one ever.
How many naked 540s have there been?
Would you say? A lot, unfortunately.
50?
No, I mean,
30?
There's been a good amount at Tampa. There's been, you know, it's traveled the world a few times.
It's like the ringlings.
Like in Amsterdam, I did one. And I remember this old man came up to me afterwards, and he's like, hey, come here. And I was like, no, fuck that. And he's like, no, come with me. And I'm like, dude, no, we're in Amsterdam. A, I was just naked. B, I'm not going with you. He's like, no, it's cool. So finally, I go with him, and he has this big green van. And I was like, dude, and he opens it up, and he's like, hey, this is for you. And I was like, what is it? And he was from Heineken. He's like, that was fucking cool, man. So for you and your friends, like, he just had like a mobile fucking Heineken van. So I was like, whoa.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, sure enough, I told everyone, and basically wherever we were, that dude would show up, and it was like a moving bar.
Wow.
I mean, people get a kick out of it. So at the end of the day, like, as ridiculous and as horrible as it is, it's brought in a lot of joy to people.
Yeah.
So
man, it can brighten anyone's day.
yeah.
That day?
You could, yeah, it's brutal, but it's funny, so.
I was just thinking about, when you were telling the story when you hip checked, like, At any point in all this, do you sort of forget you're naked and you're just like worried about the pain and the slam?
When I
and
did
then
the
you
leg
realize,
one,
like, oh
I
my
was
God,
like,
I'm naked
I
too.
thought, well, unfortunately,
Yeah.
I immediately know I'm naked.
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, this is bad. Like my biggest fear was, I mean, you know how ramps are shady,
Yeah.
was sliding down and have my balls ripped off. You know, like
Catching
in
a
the
screw
where
or
maybe
something.
one rolls that way and one rolls this way.
We were
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about that last week
But
too.
that would have been the worst thing ever, you know, but fortunately that didn't happen.
Because sometimes a slam is awkward enough. You know, the whole crowd's quiet anyway if you slam bad.
Yeah,
but
it's
then
a-
add in the naked factor.
I remember one time I made it and popped out and Bob gave me a full hug. I was like, hey.
You got a boner.
Friendship.
I
Pass
mean-
it on. I like that.
I saw one you did in Tampa. Was that for Dyrdek's show? For
Yeah.
when he made it rain and all
That
that?
one was pretty tweaked too because I hadn't skated much. And obviously they were doing this crazy thing with throwing the $5,000 out.
Yeah.
And I did like 18 kick turns and I'm like, dude, I don't got it. And everyone's like, don't pop out. And then I just fucking went for it and it worked. But I didn't think that was going to work.
So why always the 540? Why not something else?
I think
It's the only trick I can do. And fuck, you know.
it's kick turn or 540, so
Yeah. I
both
figured-
the same.
sick.
And you can do them pretty much on demand, which is amazing.
Up until Tampa this year where I broke my arm.
That was
Oh, man.
horrible. That looked really painful.
But I was sober and fully padded.
Yeah.
Which goes against
Which just
everything.
goes to show,
Yeah.
naked 540 is your thing and your
But
thing
yeah.
only.
So,
How about you should have done the loop naked?
dude, if I did that thing, I wouldn't be sitting here today
Yeah, no.
for sure.
He's got 2 kids.
I would have
Yeah.
slapped myself and everyone in the surrounding area with my balls in the face.
Just
He tried it. I seen him. Did you do it?
you could have just fucking
Yeah.
you could have had your dick like fucking tied up in the loop
yeah.
and
oh.
I guess that's the other discussion
Yeah,
too.
that's the.
Slapped across the face.
That's the other thing. Not only is it that your balls always come up in the naked 540, but it's like how low your balls hang.
it's like bubblegum balls. He's pretty much already ran his balls over a couple times.
That would be another worst case scenario. Squatting down and running over your own nuts and jumping up like a cartoon character.
That's flat spot on your balls, not on your wheel. Your balls get a flat spot.
Ouch.
True. It's a life changing.
So much.
Medic!
Yeah, you can change your wheels, you can't change your balls, unfortunately.
But do you have unusually saggy balls, or are
I
they
guess.
just
I
like everyone
guess.
seems to point out how saggy your balls are?
I guess, well, you know,
One
you
of a
know,
kind.
unfortunately for a lot of people see me naked more than, so they've probably gotten some, you know,
They've gotten to think about yours.
I mean,
more than others.
on a bad day, yeah, they are longer than my forearm. But
I think the
Not a
balls
bad
like
thing.
give you
Really
that
depends
extra.
on the temperature.
yeah, it's got a massive, incredible elasticity. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, elasticity
so.
for sure.
Sometimes they're not there. Sometimes you're like, wow,
There's a quote here. I remember someone telling me he can stretch them to his knees. Is that true?
easily.
Easy? So this isn't.
Well-
they're not normal.
I think he
I
has
guess
a
not.
permit.
We also heard the story of
I could go all day about this.
of Bill having to sit down to the bathroom and then having to put the toilet paper across
What?
and then a ball
yeah.
hammock. The
Do
balls
you
have
make
to
a
go
ball
on the toilet
hammock?
That's
paper
some of those
when he
dudes'
sits
fantasy.
down.
I don't know. I've never even contemplated that.
He told me this story that he would wrap toilet paper around his hand, and when he'd take a poo,
No.
he would fucking put it there so his balls
Hammock.
wouldn't
Go into the
hit
water.
the water.
You
They
know,
don't
obviously
hang in the
there's
water?
a danger zone, but I mean,
Well, yeah, they might get flushed if not.
yeah, there's public toilets are also a zero for me. Like
What
I
is?
cannot be involved with like public restrooms.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah.
just like
He doesn't want to double dip the balls.
I heard another account of you spray painting your balls black, and then they. What
that was a
happened?
bad choice.
the heat-
That was really lame. It
happened?
was because back in the day in Tampa, no one had any money, so
When did you do that?
It sounds
so basically what would
painful.
happen was you do anything to have money. So people would sit in the pro shop and Frazier would come in with his mace, Mike Frazier,
Yeah.
and he'd be like, how much to fucking mace you in the eyeball? And you'd be like, I don't know, $5.
Yeah.
So then it would
Pay up.
carry on, like how much to fucking, and they'd hold both your eyes and spray
Ow.
both your eyes or your mouth and people would do it every day. There was a macing every day.
Wow.
And then I remember he was like, fucking, how much to do your balls? And I'm like, I'm not doing that. And Justin Boakman was like, I'll do it. And then he's like, what do you do? I was like, I'll spray paint my balls black. So we cut a hole in some cardboard, and at the same time they maced Justin's balls and then spray painted mine black. And like we were sitting there and it was like, oh, and then Justin like ran off. And then I was sitting there and I ran off and I was like, whoa. And I kind of forget like what exactly was going on, but I remember it ended up, I saw Justin sitting with his balls in a bucket of ice water. And for me, I had to fucking double, it burned because the paint seeped into the pore.
That's a pretty tender part of your body.
Burning, and then I had to use turpentine to get it off, which internally was seeping into my pores. So it was just not. I mean,
it doesn't seem healthy either.
Maybe it added an inch. You know, like
that's where it got some extra droop out of that.
Yeah, it was
for sure. I can see that. That could happen.
It wasn't a good choice at all.
Ouch. It's one of the more monumental things in skateboarding.
It's definitely, well, actually, it's one of the most ridiculous things ever. But like I said, it makes people laugh. Fuck it.
Yeah,
it's become a tradition,
you know.
And you're basically keeping us in business over here, so we appreciate it.
We have at least 15 minutes per week to talk.
We have an episode a week thanks to you and your balls. So.
But you know, I've seen
even all those years later, like this still being brought up, so it's crazy. Right?
Well, if you can, like I've said, if you can only do one trick, do it nude.
What's a trick you would like to see done naked? Like, is there, like I said, the loop would be funny, but what is there a specific trick you'd like to see naked?
Mega ramp naked, I would definitely get a kick out of 360 into a 540. All stakes bet. They that was mentioned too, and I'm like, dude, the masonite burn that you would encounter on that could seal your asshole closed forever. Like you would be going to the infirmary if it didn't work.
Yeah, there would be some serious.
There's
no way out of it.
Would you naked jump the?
No pads, naked. You'd just be like.
Would you jump the mega ramp naked for us, or for me?
I mean, if I had to, yeah. Seal our legacy as friends, for sure. Let's do it.
Maybe not even the quarter pipe, maybe just the gap.
Like how do you knock yourself out for fun? Like you run into a wall or something?
Just jump head first into the ground. There's no real market for a vert skater who doesn't do contests. You can't really just get paid to go out and film video parts.
He fell in, so his shins just went straight on the broken glass.